is the latest blow for Iran. Has not been a good stretch after Israel's offensives in Hezbollah and Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Israel pressing their advantage at this point, launching more airstrikes into Syria, seizing territory along the border as well. Defense minister saying they've now destroyed the Syrian Navy. Retired four-star General Wesley Clark joining us now, the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Your views on all of this, especially how it affects Iran, and as I said, not a great run here for the Iranians.
I think it's a big time for a big change in the Middle East, honestly. I think Iran is incredibly weakened. I think Israel knows this and is going to take advantage. You can see the strikes they're executing in Syria to make sure that Syria doesn't come back online under some kind of an Islamist regime and open the door back to Iran. And I think Hezbollah is on its last legs as a military force in Lebanon. Now, what people are not talking about is Turkey. And for President Erdogan, this is a huge vindication of his long-term aim to restore the sort of influence that Turkey had during the Ottoman era. And people in the Middle East know it. They're aware of it. And I'm sure there are people in Lebanon who are particularly concerned about it, because if Turkey has greater influence in Lebanon, it controls the access and entrance to the Mediterranean. So this is a big deal for Turkey.
So things could really be reshaped then if you're right about this, because Erdogan and Assad were not fans of each other, but now Erdogan is more of an influence, to your point. The Wall Street Journal had this kind of overarching piece about Iran, saying that Iran has suffered a blow of historic proportions with the fall of Assad, losing a pillar of its national security strategy as it prepares for more confrontation with President-elect Trump. So when you talk about this reshaping, how do you actually expect it to play out in practical terms once Trump takes over? What's it going to look like in the Middle East?
I think President Trump is going to want to have influence in this region. He's got friends in Israel, friends in Saudi Arabia, so I don't think he's going to simply stand back and say, okay, you people do whatever you want. This has to work out the right way for our friends in the region. And what that means is right now, President Erdogan's forces are attacking the Kurdish forces in the Syrian Democratic Front that the United States is supporting. So there's been military action today. President Erdogan would like to roll up the Kurds, and yet the Kurds have been loyal friends to the United States since really 1991 in the first Gulf War. We've supported them. We're working with them. They've helped us control ISIS forces. They fought against ISIS in the region. It'd be a shame if we abandon those Kurdish forces. That was an issue 6 years ago. But I think things have changed, and I think President Trump will see that has changed. So I think we're a long way from having Syria sorted out before we get larger into the region.
Think any other governments are going to fall as part of all this?
Well, we'd like to see the Iranian government fall, to be honest with you.
Will it? Or could it?
Well, it's in a very weak position. First of all, the people are suffering economically. Secondly, it's been discredited by the failures to respond to the Israelis, and now by the fall of Iran's ally Bashar Assad and Iran's inability to help. The Houthis have been pretty quiet lately. I think they're recognizing they better watch their step here. So I think it's going to take a precipitating event to bring down the Iranian government. What would that be? Well, it would be if they tried to respond to Israel at this point. I think Israel will hammer them. And that could be enough. It could be indications that they're moving ahead with their pursuit of nuclear weapons, which would lead to an Israeli strike against them. It could be something that we don't anticipate right now due to internal impoverization inside Iran. But I think that is the next government that's under threat. And again, this will be a huge blow to Mr. Putin, just as the loss of Bashar Assad was. So I think it is a time of rearrangement in the Middle East. Our friends in Saudi Arabia have recently reached out to Iran, trying to lower the temperature and the rhetoric, but they've been very quiet on this.
Yeah, they have.
He has worked carefully with Iran to sort of deconflict along its border, and yet, Turkey has ambitions.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.